this is a place that if you go there on any given lunchtime, you know, totally packed to the rafters, because that's the secret to a good restaurant, right? Great quality food, great flavors, some interest and innovation, and then a great price. And if you do those three things, your restaurant will never be empty. Hi, mga Urbano, it's Chris here, and today I'm answering a question I hear a lot from fans of the show, which is, you know, Urbano is a tagaluto of Filipino food. When you want somebody to cook for you, where do you go for Filipino food? And it's a good question, because, you know, obviously I can make a lot of these dishes myself, and I do, but I'm very selective. That means when it comes to which Filipino restaurants I choose to eat at myself here in Manila. So I'm going to give you guys today my top 5 favorite Filipino restaurants. My very objective criteria for ranking Filipino restaurants is, of course, 1, taste. Look, if it doesn't taste good, no point going. No restaurant's in business without being great tasting. Second, of course, is the price, because just because something tastes great, you can't pay like 1,000,000 pesos for it, right? You know, we're all on a budget. And then third, of course, is the quality of food, the ingredients that are going in. So let's get into my top 5. So number 5 on my list of favorite places to eat Filipino food, it's actually Pamana, which I know is, the original Pamana was in Tagaytay. It's a little bit of a drive outside of Metro Manila, and I think food tastes better with an amazing view. But you know, what I like there is it's all of the simple classic Filipino foods. Like you can get your crispy pata there, you can get your sinigang there, you can get your bulalo there, which of course if you're in Tagaytay is super important to have your classically prepared bulalo, the bone marrow, and it's, you know, rainy and cold outside. They've done a few original recipes there, so some things you could try out are the chicha pata, which is kind of like pata but made the skin super chicharron style. And then you have your adobo 3-way, which is kind of combination of adobo puti, which is one of my favorite styles of adobo, with adobo spare ribs, and then adobo flakes, all served together, which I also think is a really cool innovation on adobo. So I just find that there's a really good mix of all the classic Filipino ulam. The quality is very high. I think the prices are quite reasonable. You know, a family of 4 could comfortably dine there for maybe mga 2,000 pesos. Pamana obviously been very successful, and they've since now got, you know, branches in QC and in Makati, so you don't have to go to Tagaytay anymore to try it, and food tastes absolutely great. So for that reason, Pamana is one of my places where I like to get Filipino food. The next one on my list is probably a slightly unusual choice because it's a street food experience. So this is Pares Point on Chino Rosas Avenue. This is a carinderia. I literally have a carinderia in my top 5 list here. I've been there 2 or 3 times now, and I actually filmed a TV interview there, you know, where we were talking about authentic Filipino street food. And I'm just super impressed by the quality on offer for a carinderia and at the price point. So, you know, you're getting your serves of ulam for maybe 60 pesos, 70 pesos, but malaman yung food dyan. And you can always tell a good carinderia. You just take one look at the meat and the serves that they're putting out. And if it's all bone and fat, you know they're stomping down the quality, so they make a bigger profit. And I actually prefer places that are maybe 10 pesos more expensive, but they're not being cheap on the meat or the quality, right? So you get a proper piece of fish or you get a proper piece of chicken, and not this like gnarly fat bone or something. So I was always impressed by the quality there. The number of dishes on offer, the use of vegetables in the cooking was really interesting. So beef soups are the specialty there. You've got your beef pares, of course. You've got your soup number 5, which if you want to know what that is, check out a link here. And so while they're known for those beef dishes, they do have a full range of carinderia options. So you'll find there like a lot of gata based dishes, because I'm a big Bicol fan. I love anything gata and spicy. They've got your adobo. You're totally covered, like whatever you're feeling like, they have it. You know, I've even taken a bottle of wine down there because it's as good as I could make the Filipino food there. So if you take a nice bottle of high acid white wine, just buy the gata based dishes, it's absolutely delicious. So check that one out, totally worth the trip. So number 3 on my list, it's actually Abe. So the restaurant is named after the owner, Larry Cruz's father, whose name was Abe. He was a bit of a global citizen, traveled a lot around the world. So Abe is kind of a blend of authentic Kapampangan cooking, but also a few interesting international quirks on some of the dishes that they're doing there. So some of the things you should try if you're going there is Abe's Chicken Supreme. You should try the lamb adobo with popped garlic. That's really cool. And then the binukadkad na plapla, which is a mouthful for a foreigner to say in Tagalog. Binukadkad is kind of opening up or blooming of something. So it's kind of like a blooming fish, but it means that they've filleted the fish and sort of opened up the fillets and then, you know, fried it so that it holds that shape when you serve it, which is really eye-catching. Looks like flying tilapia style dish. They also do like the flavored rice cooked in the bamboo, which is also a really cool Filipino thing that you almost never see in restaurants. And I remember having that when I was there and being super impressed. I think I had it with the lamb adobo, popped garlic. Delicious. So this is for me iconic of what's great about Kapampangan cooking, but also they're prepared to do a little bit of innovation there, which for me as a chef is also really exciting and something I look for. And I think delivered at a very reasonable price point for the quality of ingredients going into their food. So for that reason, Abe is number 3 on my list today. So number 2 on my list of favorite places to try Filipino food in Manila is actually Sarsa Kitchen and Bar. This one is relatively recent entrant to the Filipino cooking scene when you compare to the likes of, say, Abe or Pamana. And what I like about Sarsa is they've taken a very interesting part of the Filipino culinary cuisine, which is Negros food, right? And if you're in Manila, like a Tagalog region, you don't really get that much exposure to really, really good Visayan food. So when I first went there and tried some of the dishes, I was like, wow, this is very, very interesting for somebody who's eaten most of the more standard Filipino dishes on the menu. So this has been put together by Chef JP Anglo, and the food has got this real Negrense inspiration to it. So a lot of the sarsa that they actually have there are things that would typically be found in Negros, so the type of spice vinegar that they're using, the annatto oil as an optional accompaniment, and the type of dishes that they're doing. But I think what's really interesting is that they've taken sort of Negrense influenced food and then they've mixed it with some quite international tastes. And you guys know I would love that, because that's what we're doing on Maputing Cooking is, reimagining Filipino flavors into different international styles. So some examples of that are like their Negronese sizzling beef rendang, which when I saw that I was like, oh my god, because I love Indonesian food as well. That was just super exciting for me to see something like that. If you think like kalabasa choco bowl, so taking the sweet kalabasa and then reimagining it, pairing it with chocolate in a dessert form, which kind of draws on the idea of pumpkin as a dessert, like in North America where you see pumpkin pie and things like that. Their liempo pork adobo, oh my god, it's delicious and tasty. Again, the price points are really fantastic for the quality, and this is a place that if you go there on any given lunchtime, totally packed to the rafters, because that's the secret to a good restaurant, right? Great quality food, great flavors, some interest in innovation, and a great price. And if you do those 3 things, your restaurant will never be empty. And number 1 on my list of favorite places to dine Filipino in Manila, it's actually Romulo Cafe, which is in Bel Air. So Romulo Cafe, it seems like it's a trend in the Philippines to have a restaurant that's named after a significant family member. So this was named after Carlos Romulo, who is a leading historical figure in the post-Second World War period in the Philippines. He was a co-founder of the Boy Scout movement. He was a diplomat, a soldier, a journalist, and the first president of the UN General Assembly. So if you go to the place, it's actually a lot of the photography is inspired by the life of Carlos Romulo, but you see all of these interesting photographs and portraits which are in themselves vignettes of Filipino history and interesting things that were happening around that time. So for the history buffs, this is a great one to go. You could spend an hour just walking around looking at pictures. But what I like there is the food is really fantastic. A number of the dishes are family-owned recipes, so things like, Tito Greg's Kare Kare is on the menu, for example. But I really like this place as well because they're prepared to, again, do some innovation on the menu. So it's one of the first places where I've seen a tinapasta on the menu, like a tinapa or toyo-based pasta. And I love actually doing red sauce pastas with Filipino dried fish. I think it's just a really, really great way to do your pasta. This one, I would say overall, they lean a little bit more to the, if you like, the Spanish-inspired part of Filipino cooking. So there'll be things like, the thing I always order there is actually the Arellano Manok, which is super sarap, the ground pork, raisins, the chicken, crispy roast outside. And the salsa for that is really delicious. They have things like lengua, which again, it's very hard to find a good lengua in Manila where it's sufficiently tender. It's been stewed off for a long time in sauces to soften that down so it's palatable. And the reason this one probably ends up number 1 on my list, because you put that up against your Pramana and your Abe and your Sarsa and your Bares Point, and I go, this one on a value for money proposition, I think it's unbeatable. And I just feel like the price points there are so reasonable compared to the restaurants which are maybe just a little bit more around like Ayala Makati, the heart of the CBD. So there you go. That is my top 5 favorite places to eat Filipino food in Manila. And I'd love to hear what you guys think. I'm sure you'll have some suggestions in there. There's definitely a few places that should be honorable mentions, but who's doing it the best? I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Leave a comment below or at our Facebook page. You can drop me a line there as well. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, I read all of your comments, so I would love to hear from you guys with whatever you're thinking about the show or what you'd like us to talk about next on Maputing Cooking. I'm Chris Urbano. I'll see you next time. Bye now.